how many hours would you say you put in after work to put into practice?
Man, I would say it got pretty dark at night. I was yeah, so I was probably I was studying maybe 3 hours a day after work, but then I was still studying on weekends too. So probably on weekends I was probably spending.
Who? Oh, nice. I saw because that really does something. Like when you're going the self-taught route, you have to develop the skill to self-initiate. And
Yeah.
so that what you're talking about is what you display is what I just want most people just to embrace. Like it's nobody, like if you're asking me how many hours should you study, you don't really want it. You would like to have it. Because if I say
Yeah.
you got to study, I would say always, at least an hour or 30 minutes a day, then you might think that's too much. But if you're a person that like you, it's like you're like, nah, I need to study till I get to the end of this lesson plan tonight. Or
That's
midweek project. So all right, but go ahead, finish your story. You just kept popping up on my timeline because you were doing your projects. And I was like, who is this woman? Like, what is she doing? Like, okay, she's in the Splunk and you were doing some Linux stuff at the time as well. And I was like, who is this? And then I just became intrigued. And then I just became so every week I just always look forward to your something that you're working on, post coming on my time. So what you're saying, how you just started collecting professionals from the field as you're posting your stuff is that's monumental. So
yeah.
and building a network. But go ahead.
But no, I mean, I tell people all the time, people ask me, like, how do you build your network or how do you get these jobs or these roles? And I'm like, just posting, talk to people, show them what you can do. And they're like, no, I'm too scared to do that. And I'm like, I was too, I'm scared. That's scary. I mean, learning in public is very scary.
Very.
But I mean, it's okay. Some of us are still, beginners.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not all experts. So
Yeah.
I say, hey, just post it. And, if you want to turn the comments off, you can turn the comments off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, somebody's going to reach out to you about it and ask you, like, how much do you know? We're paying, $100,000 for whatever skill you're learning, and they'll just reach out to you about it. So I just
What,
keep
what was your
studying.
what would you say? And you're very early in your career. I definitely want to say that. But if if somebody like me who's just been a fan of your page and following you, you would think you're like a SME with like there's like 14 years of experience because of how much just work you've put into learning Linux, into learning Splunk tools, into getting your certifications, into doing the project. Like it's just so freaking impressive, man, to really see your work continue to unfold. So what was a point for you? What was like the breakthrough point where it took your career from lab rat, just churning out projects, trying to build your resume, etc., to where, oh wow, I'm actually going to get my first shot at an opportunity, whether it be an interview or the offer itself or a contract, what have you. What was that breakthrough moment for you?
Oh, okay. I will say my last role, so I was a DevOps engineer.
Oh wow.
Um,
Wow. That's what
so
hold on. You went from CES, customer service rep, to DevOps engineer? God.
so there were some support roles in between, and they were just kind of, I did them for a few months, and then I was like, nah, this is boring.
Oh,
So
we're gonna circle back to those. I love that because we just had this conversation last week about how you need to see there's practitioners, engineers in the industry,
mhm,
and there's hustlers in the industry. All right, you need to kind of find your when you come from the self-taught route, you come from my background where we earned everything we got. You look at opportunities and you know how to you see it bigger than the paycheck at the moment because you see where it's going to
yeah,
lead you. But go ahead. I'm gonna let
yeah. Well, you get bored real easily. So, but so okay, so the role that I worked, my previous role as a DevOps engineer, I
you.
actually got rejected from that role
Really,
the year before.
really.
So what I always say, whatever. Yes. So whatever I always say, whatever comes back around, it's meant for you, right? So
Mm.
apparently, the person who got the role before me, was just not, they didn't succeed. So
Yeah.
when the role came back to me, the recruiter was like, "Oh, I see your applications in here from 11 months ago."
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, yeah. I was like, I think I remember this role. So they pushed me on through. I got through like the third round, I believe, and whole new management team, completely different people from the year before.
Wow.
So they had never seen my name before ever. Um, so it was I think when I got to that role, I was like, okay, I'm underestimating myself
Mm.
because nobody on that team was 100% familiar with cloud. Um, we had just started using Terraform, which
Mm.
is something that's still kind of fairly new, but I had already started using it like maybe 6 months before I had actually got into that role. And I was like, hey, I know a little bit. So they just kind of put me on the team, for
Were you using
doing
you
Terraform.
using Terraform in a prior role, or were you just doing it off just the project?
So I was just doing it as a project. Yeah, I was
Talk to
I was
me,
using I was
nice.
using the Terraform.
Talk
Look, I
to
was using the
me,
Terraform
nice.
documentation.
Oh, you better go, girl. Hey, you better go ahead. Wow, so you're like
Yeah,
me on the team now. Terraform,
yes.
you're the only one that really knows how to operate it.
Yes. So I was like, yeah, I was like, I've heard of Terraform before, So they were like, okay, we're gonna put you on this side, doing some IAC,
Yeah.
infrastructure as code type of stuff.
Yes.
So I was like, hey, give me a month or two, I'm about to refresh
Yeah.
refresh on this. So, like I haven't used it in an enterprise type of system yet, so just let me know how y'all want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a couple months, and I looked over it, and I mean, we got it running. It's still a couple of things, you got to figure out,
Right,
off the
right,
on the
yeah.
fly.
Yeah,
But
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's all types of you got to make sure you got to see where you got to store the state file, like based on the cloud platform. You got to make sure that your service accounts, if you're using Google or your IAM roles, is going to have permission to deploy certain things throughout the stack, and then you have to configure the pipeline that it's going to go through. So yeah, it's a lot to it. So it's just amazing that from a project, from simply just in the gym working on your projects, led you to a career change opportunity, because DevOps is not no small feat. It's not a small role at all. You have to know a lot of hands-on technical skills, a lot as well as a lot of hands-on cloud technical skills. Like it's not nothing to just throw your nose up at. Like it's a serious role.
yeah.
Wow, from a support role to DevOps, that's crazy. And then
Hmm.
I love with the fact that you said that you showed you by crushing that interview, you showed yourself that you have been underestimating yourself the entire time.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Talk to me